What's up, guys? Should be a relatively short video. This is just about crafting cluster jewels. Um, really has made me a lot of currency, probably more than any other one thing in the league combined, and honestly, more consistently than any other one thing in the league combined. So I'm working on liquidating my stash to do 0 to hero, and I have some cluster jewel crafting stuff left. I figured I'd just do a little video about this, put together some clips, talk about the way that I've gone about it, and then of course talk about, how it's such an exceptional strategy. I really don't feel like a lot of people are jumping on this for two reasons. One, it's not really the most fun thing to do for a lot of people. I don't really necessarily mind it, especially if I have like something else that I'm working on at the same time, and you can kind of go back and forth. But for a lot of people, they don't want to do something like this. It can be frustrating, and just the process of crafting them is. You can take the best possible route, but it's like playing cards. It's like gambling. Like you're trying to just put yourself in the best situation to succeed. You can't necessarily control the outcome entirely. Definitely not a deterministic craft. So some people don't like that. I think the other reason that it's not super popular as a way to make currency is because of the disparity. There's not like a way to settle. You really can't settle. If you were to hit, this is a good example. This jewel has 5 int, 14 evasion, 4 dex, and 35% increased effect. You might think, oh, this is worth something. This jewel cost exactly as much as this jewel, which is scoured, because the market for these is not people that want okay ones, it's people that want near perfect or perfect ones. So there's some exceptions. There are some roles that can be interchanged. There are some things that are okay to be a lower tier than tier 1 and lower than a perfect role, and we'll talk about that as the video goes on. But for the most part, it can be very frustrating to craft these because you'll think that you like got really close, and like this has to have some value because it has like 3 out of the 4 boxes checked for what you want in one of these jewels, and it's worth like almost nothing. Because again, like the people buying these, they want something that is perfect, basically. Like and another thing about these is you can get a suboptimal one that's cheaper, but it will be harder to sell than a perfect one that's more expensive, even much more expensive, because when you hit a perfect one or a really, really exceptional one, um, the people that are looking for them, they appear, and they appear and they buy it and they're gone. Whereas when you hit a suboptimal one, the number of people who want a suboptimal jewel or would settle for a suboptimal jewel who also have the money to pay what you're asking for. I mean, it's a very small group. So the two biggest things is like it's kind of annoying to do, and you really do have to nail your mods. So I've got 3 examples here. Again, I compared these two. I just bought these from trade, 5 divines each. Biggest thing here is that we're item level 84. We have 12 passives, and that we're spell damage. You don't want these to be corrupted, obvious again, and you don't want them to have any fractured mods on them that aren't fractured mods you want on your finished jewel. I feel like those things are obvious to say, but when you're on trade, the cheapest ones of these, you'll a lot of times have like missed fractures, corrupt ones with like if you don't do your trade perfect, like if you forget to put in 12 passive skills, you'll have like 11 passive ones. You really don't want any of those. You really do want this base, and I'll use the scoured base. So it's an I-84 spell damage, 12 plus. This is where you want to start. Now, to ensure success, this is a jewel that I fractured myself, and I'll go to my passive tree here. And I actually crafted all of these myself, all 3 of my clusters. You can see that they're fractured with one of the mods that I wanted on them. As rest in peace, my brother. And I fractured all of myself and crafted all of myself. What you're really looking for to do here, if you want to hit a 4 mod jewel, is fracture it. This is one of the ones that I didn't want armor, so I took this out of the build. I had another one that I had fractured, and I re-rolled it to get mods that I actually wanted, either life or damage, and I just have this. I haven't sold it yet. It's worth about 230. I mean, it's actually, the other 2 jewels on trade don't have tier 1 armor. They have like tier 3 armor, so I think this is probably worth more than both of those. Again, because it's armor and not maximum life or increased damage, it's going to be harder to sell. Like the strength stackers really want those two prefixes. They're not going to like come looking for this and pay 300 divines for it. I mean, maybe if I left it up on trade for 2 or 3 days, somebody would buy it for 300 divines, or I could put best offer and somebody will pay me like 280 or something. But for the sake of this, I'm probably going to either scour it or try to null off armor and re-roll it. So I'm going to get into rolling these. I'm going to go through the mods that I prioritize, the different methods you can use. The thing about this is it's not very fun, and it does feel kind of random and unfair, but it doesn't take a super long time. It can feel like a long time, but usually, like, if you do this for an evening, 2, 3 hours, you're going to get a couple hits, and it's a ton of currency when you get a hit. If you get a jewel, like if you get one of these hits complete with 4 valuable mods, you're generally going from 150 to the 500 divines, and consistently. And again, when you do get 4 valuable mods, you price it correctly, they'll sell relatively well. Of course, the perfect ones selling better than the less than perfect ones. So with that, I'm going to cut over to some footage of rolling them and talking about that part. All right, guys, so here we are rolling. I'm going to go through a few things. There's going to be some text on the screen to help me because there is kind of a lot to talk about. So this jewel really only has 1 valuable mod on it. You don't want tier 2 intelligence, and neither of the jewel archetypes we're going to go through for want either dexterity or evasion. So some people, if you were like rich and you just wanted to keep your 35% increased effect on here, you could try and annul off all 3 of these other mods. I think that that's terrible. I think that's a really bad way to do this. It's super inefficient, and annuls are expensive. It's 10 to 1 divine. You don't want to be using them that way. You really want to save your annul exalt for when you have a higher percent chance of success. I'm going to vary from that at some points. This can be kind of, it's a process. You're doing a lot of these rolls. Sometimes you'll be feeling it. You'll want to annul. You'll want to exalt, and that's all fine. But just like poker, sometimes you play the same hand differently. But for the sake of this, I'm going to go over the 3 primary ways that I've used to roll these. So the first one that I'm going to go over is the Hoarder Crafting Bench, and I'm not even going to go there because I don't recommend it. Harvest Juice is simply too expensive. If you were going to go that route, I'll have some text on the screen detailing how you would go about it, but I have to urge you against it at the time this video is coming out. Harvest Juice, you need too many rolls. It's not a good idea. It is viable if the juice is like a lower price, or if you farm it yourself or something, or if you just have some juice lying around. It's good. I mean, it's decent. I'd put it on par with the next strategy I'm going to talk about, what I consider to be the best way to do this. And you can see I'm basically out of Chaos Orbs here, and I am working on liquidating my stash, so I'm not going to get a ton more. But I rolled about 3,000 Chaos into these things, and it was by far the fastest way to get to a position to try and finish the jewel. And what I consider a position to try and finish the jewel is 2 mods that you want and 1 mod that you don't. Ideally, you have a 3 mod jewel with 2 things you want on it and 1 thing you don't. You try and annul off the 3rd thing you don't. If you're fractured, that would be a 50-50. If you're not fractured, it's a 1 in 3, and you play from there. So the Chaos Orb is great because you get a lot of different chances to hit, prefix and suffix, and you can, you just get more chances to get 2 good mods on there, and that's a more satisfying point to start rolling than the alt aug regal method, because that's really, you're probably only going to have 1 thing you want on there if you're fractured too. But again, like for the sake of crafting one of these without a fracture, I think chaos spamming it's really good, especially if you don't have a fracture. Chaos spamming is going to be way faster than alting to get to 2 mods. So I'm going to probably just scour this, and I'm going to get started, and I'll cut back with some more footage of the crafting process. What's up, guys? So just want to go over the budget for something like this, show some footage of my attempts. With the unfractured jewels, you're really better off going for a 3 mod jewel, and a 3 mod jewel is increased effect tier 1, an attribute tier 1, and all attributes tier 1. It's still kind of hard to hit, even just the 3 mods, but you're making a ton of profit. I did use about 10 divines worth of annuls during this. The cluster jewels that I bought were 5 divines each, and I probably used, I don't know, you could estimate between 1 and 3 divines of other random currency. Didn't really need that many exalts, just because I didn't get a lot of good opportunities. I did scour the fractured jewel, and the fractured jewel is so much easier to hit. It is crazy. So we did hit like an okay fractured jewel, probably only worth around 80 to 90 div, but still a solid hit. I would never sell a fractured jewel for that price. I would keep rolling it. I would keep rolling it until I got one of the good ones. But just to show an example of how often these hits come up, I think we only spent about 40 minutes. Had several opportunities. I'm gonna run out of currency and finish liquidating my stash. But if you wanted to keep investing in this, I mean, you're looking at a pretty astonishing investment to return ratio on this crafting project. If you were to stick with this, and bearing you can get extremely unlucky, but if you were to stick with it and not tilt and just kind of do it in the evening sometimes when you're kind of wrapping up playing, maybe 45 minutes or an hour here and there, you could just suddenly have a whole pile of divines. If you get a 3 mod or a 4 mod to hit, it's really nice to sell one of these things. It feels really good. So I hope this video was helpful. I could go through like the mods that I prioritize, the mods that I'm willing to spend more annuls and exalts on. And those to me are increased effect and tier 1 all attributes. So the weightings are pretty similar between tier 1 attribute and tier 1 all attributes. But tier 1 attributes rolls on a range which can be divined. A tier 1 strength and int roll on a range that can be divined, while all attributes cannot be divined. So I tend to value the mod that can't be divined a little more. And that might just, that might be incorrect. It's just like the way that I think about it. And also, it's just like tier 1 all attributes is pretty critical to the price of these things. Like as you saw in the screenshot earlier, we hit tier 3 all attributes, and the only other jewel with that matched was overpriced and had been left online for too long. But I mean, we're talking like it's worth like 1/4 what it would be worth with tier 1 all attributes. So pretty wild discrepancy there. Yeah, just wrapping up here, getting prepped for 0 to hero. Going to probably start tomorrow. Going to do still pending the build, but right now leaning towards Earthshatter Slayer. Just going to blast for Amir and softcore from scratch. I thought it'd be a fun thing, do a little video series, go through the process. And, Inflation League, I feel like is a kind of a fun, challenging league to do that in. No magic find, no crafting. We're gonna blast maps so we can afford a mirror, basically. So you can look for that. I suppose if you watch the video this long, man, like I really appreciate you guys' support on the channel. Thank you so much. It's been really fun. When I'm releasing this, it will be 2 weeks on YouTube. And I've had a great time. It's like really good time. It's way more fun than I thought it would be. And I kind of just started making videos because a person messaged me wanting to ask me about my build because they saw it on PoE Ninja. And we got talking and we like had a pretty decent conversation. I was like, man, like maybe I should just like make some content and like put it out there. I guess I'm not like a total scrub, right? And it's been fun. It's been really fun doing it. It's been really fun streaming, hanging out with people in stream. A lot of great information comes in through the stream. A lot of good memes. And it's been a really cool time. So thank you guys for that. Really surprised at how well it's gone. I mean, like, I feel like it's surpassed my expectations in terms of like how much I get people to interact with stuff, and how much people seem to want this type of content, at least just being a couple weeks in. So I'm excited to make more, excited to continue. And again, like, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you hit your cluster jewel rolls a little better than I did tonight. And yeah, stay tuned. I'll have more content soon. Take care.